All right, everybody, welcome back to a special episode of the Orange Crush podcast. David and I figured after a weekend like Clemson just had, it might be worth hopping on for 10 to 15 minutes. And to quote Mr. LeBron James, it felt like Dabo Swinney said, not one, not two, not three, not four. And he's talking about the commitments here, not the Miami Heat's championship prowess back in the 2010s. But guys, Clemson's elite retreat was simply low-hanging fruit, but it was elite. And David, they pick up a lot of recruits, lots of blue-chip prospects. You pick up Chancellor Barkley last night. Adam Guthrie kicked it off on Friday. Two wideouts, Connor Solomon and Naeem Burrows, or Naeem the Dream, as he likes to put it. And then you throw in Grant Wise in there, and you got yourself a pretty star-studded cast of characters in a span of only about 3-ish days. David, what was your instant reaction to sort of all this big news coming together like NFL free agency, where it was like bam, bam, bam?
Well, I'm not going to quote Flop James. I will go back to maybe Mark Twain, and Mark Twain apparently didn't say this, but it was attributed to him. You know, the rumors of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. And as Clemson fans have gone after Josh Pate on that quite comically, you know, it proves Dabo Swinney and Clemson can still recruit, that you know, they have figured out this whole NIL game, and you know, what a great weekend. And I think that it's interesting because it sees this progression of Dabo Swinney, because remember, they had kind of that, you know, picnic or cookout or whatever you wanted to call it at the end of July. And it was a small number of players. This time, 41 show up, I think, something, you know, 40 or 41. It's in March. They make it a big deal. They swing a wide net on it. And, you know, whereas Georgia used to say, hey, we're going to have Friday night lights and bring in guys to work out, Dabo's not going to change on that. But he is changing on some things. And this shows it. And wow, you know, and now, of course, Clemson fans, one of my friends who just absolutely can never be happy, right, is like, yeah, but who's next? Can we keep them? I need more. I need more. You know, and it's like, be happy with the 5. Just calm down. Okay.
Nobody's headphones were too high on that one. Little one.
You know, it's like, oh my gosh, people, just be happy for now. Great weekend, and you did a great job on that. I have to give you a public shout out, man. You crushed it. Maybe the best weekend ever on TigerNet with recruiting. I thought you did a great job.
Well, that's high praise coming from the king of recruiting himself over TigerNet. But yeah, the conversations that I've had this weekend, David, it seems like a lot of the players within this mix of 5 were sort of on the fence. It was like, we're leaning towards Clemson, but not entirely sure if we want to pull the trigger on a commitment. And I was talking to Connor Solomon about it. A story just dropped on TigerNet about how he got Dabo Swinney. And you and I both know when he gets going, he gets going. And he went on about a 2.5-hour speech to everybody in attendance, and just sort of the things that he was saying with these types of players that Clemson's going after, it just resonated. It was that last final piece, and it was the closing speech. It was sort of if he was in a debate and you have sort of the last couple words, he got the final say and everything, and it just moved a lot of the players in attendance. And even talking to Brock Bradley said it just reinforced his commitment, and it was that long sales pitch. And, you know, it'd be interesting to sit there for 2.5 hours and feel captivated for the entire time, but it sounds like he's got the right audience for that. But a very successful weekend, and certainly there could be more on the way. Some people that I've talked to said that the wins just keep getting used to the winning. And for Clemson fans, you know how in free agency when it starts, David, you get like these tweets and it's like, this guy's going this way, or this guy's going this way. In this recruiting era, it sort of felt like that for a minute.
And I think Dabo got warmed up last Tuesday night. Dabo and Cade Klubnik, they flew to Austin, Texas last Tuesday. A lot of people probably don't know this, but they flew to Austin, Texas, and both Dabo and Cade spoke to Cade's church there in Austin to a men's group, and over 3,000 people showed up. The church is called the Ridge there in Austin. And, you know, I think that Dabo used Tuesday night to kind of get warmed up for the elite retreat speech. And, you know, and I've often said that, you know, if he gets fired from Clemson, he doesn't need to be a college football analyst. He needs to go to Siloam Baptist Church and become the full-time pastor and, you know, preach Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, have Thursday Bible study. It's just kind of what he does. But, you know, I've kind of been given some insight onto some of these speeches. They resonate. with these young men. They resonate with the parents. The parents were allowed to come, on this visit. And, I tell you what I really like about this. And I was talking to somebody at baseball about this yesterday. If Matt Luke comes to you today, and I know Clemson's spending a lot of money, and goes, hey, I want $3 million a year. Do you give it to him? Maybe you do.
Might have to.
Because, it looks like he's building a class, and everybody in 3 years is going to be 6'7" on that offensive line. And, I texted somebody in the program, and I was like, yeah, truly in a few years, 6'6", 6'7", 315, 325. And the answer I got back was, that seems like what we play against every week. And that's a far cry back from, say, 2011 and 12. You were going out and getting guys that weighed 250 pounds, 235. And the hope was, I remember talking to Brad Scott about this. The hope was that in 3 years, you could turn him into a 285-pound player who could play. You've seen Braden Jacobs up close. Like, physically, he's ready to go. And, it's exciting. And I think, man, the future's bright at that position.
Yeah, and you talk about you hope they can get to 285. Well, according to 247, Adam Guthrie, who committed on Friday, is already 6'7", 285 at his junior year of high school. So there's a certain type that he's recruiting. And we did this series a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really glad we did because it highlighted some of the commitments that Clemson snagged. Is you have these players in the trenches that can play multiple positions. And now, obviously, they're going to be set on one spot where you have Guthrie's going to likely play left tackle. Barclay is going to likely play a guard. Grant Wise, guard, center, that sort of combo. But you have players that are a little bit diverse and aren't really stuck to one spot. And so when you have a situation like we saw in Pittsburgh where guy goes down and you have to really shuffle it around, you're a little bit more confident, not like biting your nails on the sideline going, I'm not sure how this is going to go. So you're bringing in a different type of player and sort of what we're more accustomed to the Georgias of the world, the Notre Dames, where the offensive line makes that offense. The running game really boosts off of that. And so Matt Luke not only has a type, he's making sure he scores on every single time. The star power that he's built in Clemson, a lot of people that I've just in social media reactions alone, he's basically just risen to the top in terms of if we're doing power rankings of names that just make people smile, Matt Luke has got to be at the top in Clemson.
Yeah, you look at some of the kids. We were out at practice the other day, and I think I made the joke with you that Easton Ware looks like a 30-year-old, guy that works down at the mill with a wife and 3 kids already. Braden Jacobs, and you look at some of these other guys that they have already on campus, and then you're going to start adding these, and you go, my goodness. And, I kind of hate to bring it out, but, it almost looks like, and I'm not going to say an SEC offensive line. I'm going to say it looks like a Big Ten offensive line. It looks like some of those big offensive lines that Michigan and Ohio State can put out there of just road graders who go out and can block. And then, then you look at what Tyler Grisham has been able to do. Tyler Grisham, often the target of ire for Clemson fans. And it's amazing how when you get better players, you become a better coach, i.e. TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco. Now he's able to go out and recruit some speed. And, something that you touched on, Connor Salmon, he's quick. And Naeem Burrows, the dream. He's not bad either.
Yeah. You have what you're bringing in is sort of this dynamic blazer in Salmon who can really be utilized in so many different ways, playing different spots on the field. And that goes back to this sort of, you're not bringing in these one-trick ponies. You're bringing in true athletes that can really make an impact on different spots of the field. Burrows really fits that description, can play on the X, can play Z, really a receiver that I think can shine in different spots. I think Clemson really wants to believe that he's going to be a dynamic slot guy, sort of what Antonio Williams brings to the table in that sense of the word. Not trying to make player comparisons before they even arrive on campus, but just sort of things that come to mind here. But talking to Salmon, he said they don't really have someone that can just truly say, hey, we need you to just go take the top off the defense. And it's almost like a Tyreek Hill thing where if you need a deep play, he's the guy you're going to turn to in that situation. And you just arc that ball a little bit higher and you just watch that rainbow dip down into Solomon's hands and magic happens at the end of the rainbow there. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Obviously, this recruiting class, it's early. 247 Sports has Clemson as the number 3 class in the nation. I know it's early, but I think after the beating that this 25 class took, David, Clemson needed a weekend like this where they just felt like they had the star power. They were coming out with punches left and right. It felt like this was a necessary stretch of hours where it just felt like Clemson was in a positive light versus when it felt like everything was going wrong for them in that 25 class with all those decommitments.
And this weekend may not be done. I told you last night I was talking to somebody that they kind of have hinted to me that there is more to come out of this weekend. We'll see. And yeah, it's amazing what a little bit of winning will do too. We talk about NIL and figuring it out, but all of a sudden Clemson back to the college football playoff. They go out and they get in a slugfest with Texas and say, hey, we belong. And now all of a sudden, you look up and you've got a team that's projected to maybe be, a top 10 team, maybe compete for a playoff again. And, you add in that NIL portion of it and what they can do. And I will tell you this, another part that really resonated with people from what I've heard, Clemson's hiring of Kevin Kelly to kind of help manage the roster. And Clemson's one of the teams that's one of the first to do this. And to get out there and say, you know what, we're going to let our head coach, which is what he needs to do, and he will have input into roster decisions. But we've got an NFL GM out there now who's going to help with recruiting, and he's going to help find guys. But he's also going to take a look at our current roster. It just shows Clemson is trying to get ahead of things to be a player in this new era of college football. And, oh, by the way, the ACC, the whole thing has been settled. You kind of know where Clemson's going to be the next couple of years. It all adds up.
Right, and I think you want Clemson to be a little forward-thinking here and be a pioneer and a trailblazer in certain instances. So a lot of positives come out of Tigertown this weekend. David, baseball, once again, rocking and rolling. Basketball, the ACC tournament is in a few days. They're the number 3 seed. Pro Day is on Thursday, March 13th. We're recording this on Monday. It'll go live here pretty soon. Lots to talk about. We just wanted to get on the horn and quickly discuss the elite retreat and the recruiting wins. David, do we have any final thoughts before we wrap up this mini-sode for the show?
Well, baseball and recruiting crossed paths yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday, Carson Kramer, one of the recruiting assistants, along with the offensive coordinator Garrett Riley and recruiting coordinator Jordan Sorrells, brought Tate Reynolds into the baseball game. And it was a rather boring baseball game until, the Tigers finally started to push through in the 6th. But I thought it was interesting. Garrett Riley had his boys with him. Jordan Sorrells had his kids with him. There's that family feel at the baseball game. They were, they were in Tate Reynolds' ear, but he's already committed, not a lot. And then Garrett left, and in pops Taj Boyd to sit, with the recruit. He got up, he took some pictures with people. Big kid, but he's a guy that, he on his Twitter, he says he's a Clemson baseball commit too. People, if you haven't seen any of his videos, go look. He's an outfielder with a great arm and a lot of pop. And one of his major league draft profiles says 5-tool player. And maybe that's something that Clemson needs to watch. We'll see. Really it's going to come down to, does he want to play college football? But the two worlds cross paths. And yes, how about Brad Brownell? Throw some love to them. Yesterday, Chef Jaden Zachary came in. Chauncey Wiggins came into the baseball game yesterday. They were there for a little while. Great to see those guys kind of supporting another sport. Baseball, 15-1, first ACC series this weekend against Notre Dame. They have Liberty and Bradley LaCroix, former Clemson coach and player, bringing the Liberty Flames back. Grayson, are we going to get a chance to exhale this week?
Probably not. You probably can get a couple minutes here or there, but this is crossover season, ladies and gentlemen. And this recruiting weekend, it felt like it was going nonstop, and just got to keep the notifications on. I got to keep the notifications on. NFL free agency starts in an hour, and my Patriots need some help. So we're going to be keeping close eyes on that. Booking hotels for Charlotte. It's going to be a lot of fun. But guys, thank you as always for the support. We will have some podcasts if Clemson makes a little run here in the ACC tournament. And then wherever Clemson lands on Selection Sunday. Yes, Selection Sunday is in a few days. Whoa. How do we get there? Like this just, you mentioned being able to exhale. Might have to wait till April. We might have to wait till April. But guys, thank you as always for tuning into the Orange Crush podcast. Big recruiting weekend for Clemson. More stories on the
Big.
way for TigerNet. Laundry list of players with that. So just keep your eyes peeled for more insight into the elite retreat and some commitments on how things ended up shifting in that direction. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. God bless y'all.